Right.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. And Pesach is almost over. Every year, on the night before the end of Pesach, I think of the last time I lived in Israel. And I lived in a very chic neighborhood. I was just a half a block behind all these amazing restaurants. And I thought from time to time, with all the smells that came to my apartment, that I should go down and tip the waiters. But the one time during the year when it is really wild is the last night of Pesach. Seeing the lines in front of the pizza place, they were, as one would say, epic. And so it's been a profound time as we've celebrated Pesach this year, coming from the pandemic and seeing new hope and feeling the life-giving gift, hopefully next week as winter will pass and the spring will be upon us.
We begin with words from Song of Songs, which is the Megillah, the scroll that is associated with Pesach. continue with the lighting of our Shabbat and holiday candles, and I'd like to invite the Schwartzes and everyone else who's there to lead us in this.
So it's how we sing along or shut up.
You can sing.
Yeah.
No.
What?
This one is. Talk amongst yourselves. Smoking with Vidana.
Come on. You're drunk. That one's no good. All right, now.
If it makes you feel better, my candles are giving me a hard time too.
Now what's gonna make him stay lit?
Yes.
You got it. Okay. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav b'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat
Yom Tov.
Yom Tov. Am I going to read?
The Yom Tov.
We bless our loved ones near and far with these words from the book of Numbers. Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka, Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. Shalom, shalom, yasem lecha shalom, shalom, v'yasem lecha shalom, 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 yasem lecha shalom, shalom, v'yasem lecha shalom. We continue with the Kiddush.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kadosho b'yahava ratzon v'ilanu Zikaron Namaste Bereishit, Ki Hu Yom Tehillah V'Mikra'e Kodesh, Zeher L'Tziat Mitzrayim, Ki Banu V'Harta, Yotanu Kidashta, Mikol Ha'amim, Shabbat kosher, Yahweh Ratzon, Im Hatanu, Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Yom Tov.
The Yom Tov. Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh Yisrael, HaShabbat v'Yisrael v'Hazmanim. Yasher Koach, thank you. Mizmor shir leyom HaShabbat, tov lehodot la'Adonai, ulezamer l'shimcha elyon, ulezamer l'shimcha elyon. Mizmor shir leyom HaShabbat, tov lehodot la'Adonai, ulezamer l'shimcha Tzadik Katamar, back one slide. Tzadik Katamar, Yifrach, Yifrach, Tzadik Katamar, Yifrach. Tzadik Katamar, Yifrach, Yifrach, Tzadik Katamar, Yifrach. Keres Balanon Yizke, Keres Balanon Yizke, Keres Balanon Yizke, Yizke. Keres Balanon Yizke, Keres Balanon Yizke, Keres Balanon Yizke, Yizke. Tzadik Katamar, Yifrach, Yifrach, Tzadik Katamar, Yifrach. Tzadik Katamar, Yifrach, Yifrach, Tzadik Katamar, Yifrach. Keres Balanon Yizke, Keres Balanon Yizke, Keres Balanon Yizke, Yizke. Keres Balanon Yizke, Keres Balanon Yizke, Keres Balanon Yizke, Yizke. Do you want to play? Here, will you play some? Okay, sing along with me. Yuval, were you being the waves crashing on the sea? Were you making sure that we could hear those waves crashing along the sea? Yes? Okay, we're going to continue with the Chatzi Kaddish. As you are comfortable, please rise in body or in spirit. Yitgadal ve'yitgadash shemei rabba ve'alma divrach yirutei ve'yamlich malchutei v'chai echon uvyom echon uv'chai decho beit Yisrael bangala bangala uvizman kariv v'imeru amen yehi shmei rabba mevarach ve'alamu al me'almaya itbarach itbarach ve'ishtabach v'itpa'ar v'itrom ha've'itnaseh v'itadar v'itale v'italal shemei dekodesha brichu leila min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran be'alma V'meru, amen. Baruchu et Adonai hamevorach. Baruch Adonai hamevorach. Olam va'ed.
Rise up, my love, my fair one. Let's go, let's go. At last winter is past, the storms are over. Flowers appear, the time for song has come. The song of bloodbirds is heard in our midst. See, produce growing ripe, dewdrops of blessing, bringing forth for the hungry, healing for the sick. Let grapevines blossom as heaven yields its dew. Let us journey towards the bounty of renewal. Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ariv Aravim.
אותנו לימדת. אהבת עולם, בית ישראל, עמך אהבת, תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת. Pick your favorite part. Day and night, show us the way, teaching us to number our days. When we rise and when we lie down, Ahavat Olam. Baruch atah Adonai Ohev Amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Me'olam Va'ed. If you are still standing, you may be seated. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו עשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים אלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Every person needs to have a certain Egypt, to deliver themselves from it with a strong arm or with grinding teeth. Every person needs terror and great darkness, and comfort and promise and redemption. And they would know to look at the sky. Every person needs one prayer that would always be on their lips. A person needs to bend farther one time. Every person needs a shoulder that would always be on their lips. A person needs to bend one time. Every person needs a shoulder. Every person needs to have a certain Egypt, to redeem themselves from it, from the house of slavery, to go out in the middle of the night, the desert of fears, to march straight into the waters, to see them open before them on both sides. Every person needs a shoulder on which to carry the bones of Joseph. Every person needs to straighten their backs. Every person needs to have a certain Egypt and a Jerusalem in one long journey that they will forever remember in their feet.
We're going to use the traditional Pesach tune that goes with the piyut, the poem Adirhu for Micha Mocha. Micha Mocha Ba'elim Adonai, Micha Mocha Nedar B'Kodesh, Nora Tehilot Osef Ele Malchut Techa Rauvanecha Bokei Ayam Lifnei Moshe Miriam Zeli Zeli Anu Ve'ameru Adonai Imloch Leolam Vaed V'nehar Kifad Adonai et Yaakov Ugelo miyad chazak mimenu Baruch atah Adonai Gal Yisrael.
Who need to travel light. Take you what you can carry, a book, a poem, a battered tin cup, your child strapped to your chest, clutching your necklace in one hot, possessive fist. So the dough isn't ready, so your heart isn't ready. You haven't said goodbye to the places where you hid as a child, to the friends who aren't interested in the journey, to the graves you've tended. But if you wait until you feel fully ready, you will never take the leap at all. And infinity is calling you forth out of this birth canal and into the future's wide expanse. Learn to improvise flat cakes without yeast. Learn to read new alphabets. Wear God like a cloak and stride forth with confidence. You don't know where you're going, but you have the words of our sages, the songs of our mothers, the inspiration wrapped in your kneading bowl. Trust that what you carry will sustain you and take the first steps out the door. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, v'al amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim.
Amen. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat v'torah v'ritolah. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat v'torah v'ritolah. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael, oti leolam, oti leolam. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat, l'dorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai, asa Adonai, et ha-shamayim ve'et ha'aretz, v'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat, l'dorotam berit olam. Uvayom hashvi Shabbat v'yinafesh, Shabbat v'yinafesh, Shabbat v'yinafesh. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat, l'dorotam berit olam. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat, l'dorotam berit olam.
V'daber Moshe et modei Adonai el b'nei Yisrael. And Moses declared the appointed festivals of Adonai to the people of Israel.
We continue with the Amidah. I invite you, as before, to rise as you are comfortable in body or in spirit. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim Bekonei Hakol, V'zocher Chastei Avot v'Imahot, Umevi Gula Livnei V'neihem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham V'Ezrat Sarah. Ata gibor leolam Adonai, Mechaye hakol ata rav lehoshia, Morid hata, Mechalkel chaim bechesed, Mechaye hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim verofech cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato, Mishenei afar, Michamocha b'gevurot, Umido melech, Melech memit umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, Bnei manata lachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hakol. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
We offer thanks, O God, for this Shabbat, which unites us in faith and hope, for Shabbat holiness, which inspires sacred living, for Shabbat memories glowing even in darkness, for Shabbat peace born of friendship and love. We offer thanks and blessing, O God. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Holy One, release me from judgment and doubt. Release me from hunger and want. Release me from loneliness and despair. Release me from disappointment. Release me from anger and shame. Release me with your gentle hand and a song of hope. Release me with the light of your word and the echo of your voice. God of old, guide me to wisdom and strength. Teach me to break free of the chains that have wrapped around my own heart. Teach me to live a life of service to others, a life in celebration of your gifts. Teach me to see myself through your loving eyes, so that I may return rejoicing to you and your people. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat v'Yisrael v'Hazmanim. Be gracious, Adonai, our God, to your people Israel, and receive our prayers with love. Our worship always be acceptable to you. Fill us with the knowledge that you are near to all who seek you in truth. Our eyes behold your presence in our midst. Baruch atah Adonai, hamachazir shechinato v'tzion. For the good in us which calls us to a better life, we give thanks. The strength to improve the world with our hearts and hands, we offer praise. For the desire in us which leads us to work for peace, we are grateful. For life and nature, harmony and beauty, for the hope of tomorrow, all praise to the source of being. Baruch atah Adonai, Tov Shimcha, L'cha Ne'eh L'hodot.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. השלום, כי אתה הוא מלך הדור, וכל השלום, שלום רב ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. שלום רב ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל, בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. שלום רב ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. ברוך אתה אדוני המברך את עמו ישראל בשלום. As we turn to our silent prayer, our time to offer the prayers of our hearts, I'll invite you also to consider what sort of redemptions you are seeking on this Pesach. עושה שלום במרומיו, יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו
Yishaberach Imotenu Va'avotenu. Our God, and God of our mothers and fathers, God of Sarah and Abraham, Rebekah and Isaac, Leah, Rachel, and Jacob, as you've been with our ancestors, with all who are in need of your healing, send them refuat hanefesh, refuat haguf, healing of body, mind, and spirit. We especially pray for all of those who are stricken with COVID-19. Eternal God, may your warmth and your love bring them comfort. Sustain their dear ones with compassion in your presence, and guide their caregivers to have skilled hands and understanding hearts. Baruch atah Adonai Rofeh HaCholim. Blessed are you, O God, who sends healing to the ill. Amen.
Amen. We also think of Tony Linder, Lisa Siegel, Jack Greenberg, Jean Mazer, Tom Morton, Susan Horn, Howard Block, Steve Eng, George Gurneth, Kathy Lowry, and Larry Wang, Michael Butler, Abra Butler, Tom Brown, Jimmy Klein, Rabbi James Perman, Harav Rachel Bat Shmuel Fruma, Chana Rachel Bat Betty, Amy Karolitz, Eric Karolitz, Eileen Cohen, Jerry Spargel, Shirley Spargel, Carlotta Page, Mackenzie, Nellie Johnson, and Aaron Robinson. We offer these words of, we sing these words of Misha Berach for them and also for ourselves and everyone who is in need of healing. Misha Berach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misheberach Mimotenu Mekor HaBracha Lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. That is Yuval's sermon for this evening. He may continue to speak while I do. I appreciate your patience with me and with him. So in the lead up to Pesach every year, various organizations provide Haggadah supplements to help make the Seder relevant to the issues of the day. Many of the justice-driven organizations offer contemporary versions of the 10 plagues, either by connecting them to connecting the biblical plagues to modern problems, or simply by identifying new problems that plague our society. The Religious Action Center of Reform Judaism, the RAC, which is the political advocacy branch of our movement, put out its own set of 10 plagues of inequality. It's a beautiful commentary on the biblical plagues, their effect on the Egyptian community, and where we see similarities in American society today. It includes a broken criminal justice system, lack of affordable housing, inequitable education funding, hunger, and more. And it totally misses the point. The biblical plagues, especially by the fourth or fifth one, are attempts to make Pharaoh and the Egyptians feel the Israelites' pain. Remember, all of the Egyptians benefit from the oppression of the Israelites. It's not just the upper class who might have gotten rich off of the Israelites' work. Even the lowest class of Egyptian would have had greater power and privilege just by virtue of being Egyptian. There would have been little, if any, benefit for any of the Egyptians to oppose the status quo. The plagues, however, changed the dynamic. Now the oppressors feel pain commensurate to that of the oppressed. Inequities in society, like the ones in the RAC's Haggadah supplement, are not plagues against oppressors meant to free us from oppression. They are oppression itself. Our criminal justice system, our lack of affordable housing, the inequitable ways we fund public education, etc. These systems serve to benefit some while holding or even pushing others down. The people who create and uphold these oppressive systems are the pharaohs that need to be toppled. And we might need plagues to create enough pain to change the status quo. Our tradition tells us that the plagues were sent by God, who served as an outside power that could push for change on behalf of the Israelites until they had the collective strength to seek freedom for themselves. I've spoken before about the trajectory of the plagues, how the Israelites suffer alongside the Egyptians for the first 3, are protected in their own neighborhoods for the next 5 plagues, have individual protection from the 9th plague, that's darkness, but then have to take action to protect themselves from the last plague. The biblical text suggests that the Israelites were too downtrodden, too dispirited to even believe that God could redeem them, until the Egyptian magicians recognized God's power. That's when it changes. After that, the Israelites regain hope and faith, but aren't yet able to mobilize. They need God and Moses' help to reach the point where they can free themselves from oppression. Many of us are lucky to have the privilege of not being oppressed by the systemic inequities in our society. And I don't believe that life is so black and white that if we are not oppressed, then we must be the oppressors. Instead, I think those of us in this place of privilege get to be like Moses and God, the outsiders who see what's wrong, who see the change that needs to happen. And we are the ones who can help push our contemporary pharaohs to change their ways. We know from our Passover story and from history that oppressive leaders don't change their ways unless their hand is forced. So we can look for opportunities to encourage or compel that change before the plagues descend. Or maybe we should even be those plagues ourselves. Much of this we can do if we work together. We have actually a number of efforts coming up, not just within our own community, but also statewide. There are a number of us who are working with the Religious Action Center's Pennsylvania branch, deciding on what issue we are going to take on as a collective, not just Reformed Jews, but adding our power, our voice, our ability as outsiders to help push our systems to be more equitable, to be more just. I hope that as we get closer to announcing these efforts, this project, which will be in the beginning of May, that you will join us. And I also encourage you to reach out if you are interested in participating. We have a number of folks who would love to have one-on-one conversations with you in order to tap into what power you have and to add your voice to the collective. I hope that together we can change society without the trauma of plagues, or be the plague to the pharaohs, so that we all can be free and redeemed. Shabbat Shalom. And Chag Sameach.
And announcements for this week. Our musical program, before that, Yeshakov, Rabbi Gorban. Very, very important drash. Very important sermon this evening. Thank you so much. Our musical program is made possible with generous support by Edgar Snyder and an anonymous donor. You're invited to join us for our weekly classes. Hartman Learning on Sunday. Check the email, and we're talking about the election in Israel. No answers will be provided. Parashat study on Wednesday and evening meditation on Wednesday. Please join us this Wednesday at 1. It's a very special program. It's a program I've wanted to offer for many years now. It's a remembrance of the Shoah, and it's based on the work of Rabbi Claudius Kalman Shapira. He's known as the Eish Kodesh, the Holy Fire, a Hasidic Rebbe who taught before the war and was interred in the Warsaw Ghetto and continued to write. Lost his life in the Shoah, and his works were found and were published in this book. There's great emotion and pathos as you see him struggling with loss and with his faith. And my teacher and friend, Rabbi James Jacobson Mazels, is just a wonderful person, is going to lead us in a shiur, a lesson. Join us for the 4th annual Folk Shabbat on Friday, April 9th. We'll weave our prayers with songs from the 60s and 70s. Take-home dinners are available to purchase. Dinner options are located on our website calendar. Throughout this month, 2nd annual Yom Ha'atzmaut concert. It's called Yom Ha'atzmaut Across America with Sheldon and Hadar. We're one of over 100 congregations that are participating, and it's going to be great. Sunday, April 11 at 2 p.m. And April 19th, Rabbi Karen Kedar making our days count. And that will be in the evening at 7, and she'll be talking about the Omer. Shabbat Shalom. And we count the Omer. Hinei mulchan uzman ukayam mitzvat asay sfirat haomer. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu v'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sfirat haomer. Hayom shishi yamim la'omer. Today is the 6th day of the Omer.
And for those unfamiliar with that, that image, that is in fact young barley, because the Omer is counting the growth of, among other things, the agricultural piece of it is actually counting the growth of barley, which gets collected into a sheaf known as an Omer. We continue with Aleinu, and I invite you to rise as you are comfortable in body or in spirit. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, latent gedula liotzer breshit, shelo asanu kegoyei ha'aratzot, ve'lo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, ve'gor aleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu korim, u'mishtachavim u'modim, לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו
On this Shabbat, we remember those whose names have been sent to us this week: Dr. Sidney Small, Alan Klein, and Jean Mazer. We extend our condolences to all of those whose loved ones have passed away during the last 30 days. Our hearts and our spirits are with you. Our recent deaths are Rabbi Michael Cook, Alan Cookson, husband of Elizabeth Cookson, past president of the congregation, Richard Rick Dorfson, the husband of Rhoda Dorfson, the father of Aaron and Josh, Stephanie Skellaway, grandmother of Karen Knight, Alice Siegel, mother of Ed and Barb Siegel, grandmother of Jamie Siegel and Howard Wachtler. We mark the yard sites this week of Julian Samuel Anshel, Charles Baker, David E. Bernstein, Jack Blackman, Gary Braunstein, Cuddy Briskin, Geraldine Bolarski, Paul Brown, Carl Cherin, Joseph Chodak, Arthur R. Cohen, Edgar Allan Edelsack, Zelda Feinberg, Harry Fellheimer, Rose Frank, Samuel N. Goldman, Anna Gornberg, Erwin A. Holtzman, Bert Horowitz, Frida Katz, Max E. Latterman, Ida Lyons, Joseph Magadovitz, Silbert Moritz, Dr. Robert Rapp, Sidney Rosenberg, Alice Rubin, Walter B. Rudolph, Barbara Scher, William Scott, Bertram Silver, Sal Simon, Dorothy Solomon, Mary Ann Stevenson, Herman Weisberg, Dora C. Weiss. We recall all of those with no one to remember them, those who have lost their lives to violence in the world, those who have lost their lives because of COVID-19 and disaster, and those who have lost their lives in defense of freedom. And we also remember Sidney Small. In remembrance and an affirmation, we say the words of the Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, v'amad divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei. V'chayachon v'yamechon, chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, v'agala u'vizman kariv yamru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mebrach ve'elam omei omaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'romam v'yitnasei, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei d'brusha b'richu. Ve'elam yinkol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechemata, v'ram b'yama v'yamru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yamru amen. Oseh shalom b'Ramav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yamru amen.
We conclude with Miriam's song celebrating the crossing of the sea. You gonna let me play, or are you gonna hold on tightly? With every strand and every thread she crafted her delight, a woman touched with spirit, she dances toward the light. And the women dancing with their tunes followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to one whom it exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced the whole night long. Stood upon the shores and gazed across the sea. The wonder of this miracle she soon came to believe. Whoever thought the sea would part with an outstretched hand, and we would march to freedom and march to the promised land. And the women dancing with their tunes followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to one whom Miriam and the women danced and danced the whole night long. And Miriam the prophet took her timbrel in her hand, and all the women followed her just as she had planned. And Miriam raised her voice in song, she sang with praise and might. We've just lived through a miracle, we're gonna dance tonight. And the women dancing with their tunes followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing not a song to one whom we exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced all night long. And the women dancing with their tunes followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing not a song to one whom we exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced the whole night long.
Prophet Amos gave us a charge reflecting the words of Rabbi Corbin this evening. I loathe, I spurn your festivals. I'm not appeased by your solemn assemblies. If you offer me burnt offerings or your meal offerings, I will not accept them. I will pay no heed to your gifts of fatlings. Spare me the sound of your hymns. Let me not hear the music of lutes. But let justice well up like waters and righteousness like an unfailing stream. Shabbat Shalom and Chag Sameach.
Shabbat Shalom and Chag Sameach.